All right, so hello everybody. I think we all understand the scenario now with the background story and then pretty much what you guys are going to discuss. We're just going to go straight into the scenario and then we'll just get started. Okay. So hey everyone, I'm the mediator for this. I was appointed by the judge. I come from the Human Rights Commission. I'm here to facilitate a cooperative negotiation in order to move both sides toward a positive solution. I've read everything from both sides, and I've understand what's happened in the past 3 days at the actual here at the incident. Let's just say we're at the hospital. Um, cool. I'm impartial to both sides, and I'll be using techniques such as keeping the negotiation respectful between both parties. And I may meet with each side individually to understand and communicate their true resistance points. If we have to do that, like simulated, that's fine. Um, the other people will just like turn off their mics or something, and then I'll just talk to one side of the party. So yeah, um, Triple C, if you like to start, that sounds good.
All right. The biggest things that we wanted to discuss is, de-escalating the situation. We don't want to, take over the hospital or anything like that, but we have to make sure that everybody understands we're all part of the same community. We want success for the hospital because a successful hospital gets us better health, better medical care that we need. We're dying as a community and we all have to work together. So the big thing that we need and to end this is before the hospital goes forward with anything, we want to sit down and we want to establish, what that meeting is going to be discussing and make some resolutions. Uh, in that meeting, what we would like to discuss is how we as a community can help the hospital grow. Because as I said, the hospital growing and becoming more successful is better for us as a community. In exchange for our help as a community, the hospital has to work with us in being able to provide us with more affordable and more available health coverage. And then we also would like to work on determining a method for better cooperation between the hospital and our community. We understand you're a private organization. You aren't, you have no obligation to us whatsoever. But because this is the community where you are and where you serve, we would like to work with you in going forward and in establishing a direction so that way, as I said, you can be more successful as a hospital and we can be more successful as a community by having our needs met.
Okay, yeah, perfect. That was a good opening statement. Um, I guess just so everyone's tracking, like the simulation is that we are at the hospital and we are meeting. That's just like what it said in the book. So Russell, Angelo, give me a head nod if that makes sense. If that's what you guys are tracking. Okay, cool. Yeah. So we are in a meeting at the hospital already, and then, but yeah, just bringing up your first goal is perfect. I guess one thing as a meteor I want to bring up, Drew and Aaron, do you guys still want the following demands as it was written in the background, just so it's clear for the hospital? The five demands. Are you guys still
I
searching for those?
I don't want to cut you off. I want to say make two statements. The reason I wanted to have a guaranteed meeting was what we're trying to end is the sit-in. We have people currently sitting in the office spaces. So the goal is to end that. I understand that not everybody's ready to sit down and discuss the other two topics that I brought up, but just to de-escalate things and to get people out of the offices. That's why that's a goal, because the courts are involved, the judge is involved, and that's why you're involved. And then the other demands that are in the reading, I've purposefully not utilized those. In all honesty, I understand that it's part of the simulation. However, the points that I brought up are as well, and I can, in good faith, make these arguments. Whereas can't, I'm not an actor, and I'm not going to pretend that these things I think are realistic and honest, and I'm not going to enter into a negotiation that I don't feel I'm negotiating in good faith. And with those types of demands, it would be a bad faith argument. That's why we're not utilizing those specific objectives.
Perfect. Cool. Yeah, I just want to make that clear. Hospital, go ahead.
We appreciate you making your open statement, and we hear your concerns. As Drew stated, of course, we want to end in the sit-in for not just for us because it's in one of our offices, but also because there's obviously a miscommunication and there are needs of the community that need to be met. So, Drew, with your opening statement, we understand your demands, and we would like to sit down and acknowledge them with you, and hopefully reach an amicable solution between both parties where we as a hospital can function and better support you as a community, and where you as a community feel more supported. So we will agree to sit down with you and address every single demand that you have, and then we'll talk it through as long as the sit-in in the director's office does end. And so for the simulation, I'm assuming we would like fast forward to a time when we're actually sitting down and meeting. The people have now left the office, correctly?
Yeah. So from my understanding, that's exactly what happened. That went pretty quickly, I think, just based on like what could have happened. But yeah, cool. So we could move um, from the sit-in, and now we're just in like a professional like meeting scenario, maybe a week or two later.
Okay.
Perfect.
I guess then
So Drew, to start off this meeting, could you just, I noticed, could you just readdress it? I believe it was that you said 2 demands. That you're not going to address all the demands. Could you just readdress the 2 demands? Because Russell and I provided responses in ways that we could reach amicable solutions. I just want to delete them from my notes. So that way I don't overstep and I kind of condense everything we would like to talk about. And so that way we can take notes a little bit better.
No, understood. Just to clarify, what we would like to do is, work on a solution where us as a community can work to help the hospital grow and, improve their finances. In exchange, what we would request would be more available care for our community.
Okay.
Having more appointments available, more doctors available, which is, from my understanding, something that you guys are working towards as well. But if we could work together to do that, I think that would benefit the both of us.
Okay. Completely understood. So I'll address that one. So from the hospital standpoint, we can support an increase in outpatient services. However, there seems to be an issue with people actually showing up to the appointments that they schedule, and that's no flack on our patients. We understand things come up, appointments can be made, but what affects us giving proper care is, here's an example. Let's say a woman and her child schedule an appointment with a doctor, and they don't show up to that appointment. Now that doctor's time, these appointments can last anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour and a half. Now, depending on the time of that appointment, that doctor is now, there's no one filling that time slot for that doctor. So now that's a wasted space. You can't just call in someone for an appointment for a no-show because that patient may potentially show up. But we can support an increase. However, per the demands in the case, it said 100% increase in outpatient facilities. What we feel it's a little extreme on our end, but we understand your plight. And so we wanted to bring forward a compromise to eventually reach a 100% increase. And that's over the course of 10 years. We increase the appointments by 10% to give more appointments available to the community. It's just, as a community, we need to emphasize, if you're going to if you can't make an appointment at the hospital, at least do the courtesy of calling ahead of time, at least a half a day in advance, so we could potentially schedule another patient that could use the care of one of our licensed physicians.
Yeah, that that part of the discussion is totally reasonable. If people are going to make the appointments, they need to keep the appointments, or not complain about them not being available. I'm uncertain if initially a 10% increase is going to be sufficient. I don't have data in front of me that's going to support that one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
However, any increase coupled with, people better utilizing the appointments, would definitely make an improvement. So, working out the actual numbers, if the 10% is going to be sufficient, we'll have to revisit at another point in time. But then to move on to the last request that we have is, what can be done going forward where we can have a process in place, something that we can do so that the community and the hospital can work more with more cooperation. You know, how can we work better together instead of it being the hospital and the community? You know, it's
Mhm.
the community's hospital. You know, we don't own it, but you know, it's where we go. It's who we trust in. You know, so what can we do to have more skin in the game? You
Mhm.
know, and on the flip side, have, you know, the hospital have more consideration for our needs and our requirements.
Completely understandable. So Russ and I were discussing this, and obviously, as a hospital, we are failing to communicate with the community that we are supposed to support. So, a solution that we have brought forward is we could create a subcommittee with key leaders in the community. The leaders can be whomever the community wants to choose. That's not in our skin in the game to decide who would represent you. But then you could be in a place a representative from that committee could be on our board. So whenever we convene together as a hospital and make decisions, the community is represented and we hear their plights, because as a hospital, obviously we need to function. Obviously we need to make sure our physicians are trained, but we are here to support you despite being a private organization. If we're not supporting you, then we're not fulfilling our purpose there. And we don't want to have this miscommunication that we've been having right now. We obviously want to have a great relation with our community and meet your needs. So that was what Russell and I and the team came together is we want to give you a voice, and it seems like you guys didn't have an opportunity to express it. And that's why circumstances fell the way they did for you to get our attention. But we want to extend a hand and have you actually literally have a seat at the table for when we actually make decisions, not just about like how projects move forward or anything about that, but like where we are focusing our medical needs on. Sometimes the community, like we may be focusing in an area that the community may not need, or overlooking an area that the community may need.
That sounds totally reasonable.
Okay. So as for how you want to choose the members, it's completely up to you. You can hold community elections, hold meetings, whatever. It's just, it would be best if it was one representative that spoke for the whole as your group. And then as a board of directors, when I was looking online, so in case anyone didn't know, a board of directors are responsible for developing and reviewing the hospital's overall mission and strategy. The board guides long-term goals and policy for the hospital by making strategic plans and decisions. That was from boardeffect.com, and I can send that link out to anybody. So that is what you will be joining. So you will be able to see our strategic plans and what our mission is to support you as a community. So I hope that meets your demand, and I hope you feel satisfied going forward that we're trying to extend an olive branch to work with you as a team instead of working as separate entities.
Yeah, like I said, I think that all sounds completely reasonable. You know, we may have to revisit the you know, the availability of care, or, you know, we may have to maybe get a little creative with that. Again, I don't have any hard data in front of me that would determine what's, you know, what would be acceptable and what would not, or, you know, what's going to meet the needs. But, you know, I think other than potentially having to discuss that a little bit further, I think, you know, we're pretty satisfied with the resolution and appreciate, you know, the hospital's willingness to work with us.
Of course, we are here to serve you.
Excellent.
All right, perfect. Yeah. Did anybody in the simulation, or did anyone else have anything to say from either side, Russell or Aaron?
I got nothing else to add.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Simulation, I'll pass the words to the judge that everything's good and then get it handled. Cool. So index sounds great. I think we can all write a pretty decent paper on what just happened. Angelo,